There are a lot of great reasons why you should do an internship with a law enforcement agency. There's also reasons why you should not do an internship. The reasons why you should do an internship: first is to learn more about a law enforcement career to decide if this is something you really want to do. Next is the experience of going through a competitive selection process, the connections you will make, and you will begin making a name for yourself. An internship will allow you to learn more about a law enforcement career to decide if this is something you really want to do. Many people, when applying with a law enforcement agency for an entry-level position, have only had a connection with law enforcement through their classroom. They've gotten their associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, maybe even a master's degree, criminal justice or related major, but they haven't had any real-life connection to what law enforcement agencies do. They don't have any real knowledge or working experience of what they're going to be doing with that agency. They may have watched a lot of television shows, but it's not particularly accurate about what law enforcement officers do. I received one email from an individual who said that they wanted to do a law enforcement internship to learn more about it, to decide if this is something they really wanted to do for their career. And I thought this was great. Most people are not honest with themselves about the fact that they don't know a lot about the real world of law enforcement, but they're determined that this is what their career is going to be. When agencies are hiring somebody, oftentimes the applicants really don't know what they're getting into. As a result, the agencies are taking a great risk that when this person really finds out what it's like in the world of law enforcement, that they're going to decide this isn't for them. A law enforcement internship will give you a better understanding of what the job is and what these law enforcement agencies do. Many law enforcement internships give the intern the opportunity to do job shadowing, where you spend short amounts of time with a variety of different divisions within that agency. You may spend various times with traffic control, with homicide, narcotics, crime scene investigation, intelligence, gambling. This kind of opens up your eyes to all the different areas within a large or even a small law enforcement agency and allows you to focus on what your future law enforcement career goals are. A law enforcement internship will give you experience going through the competitive selection process. For many people applying with a law enforcement agency for an entry-level position, they've had little or no experience going through that competitive process. Internships have very similar selection processes to entry-level law enforcement jobs. You'll fill out an application. You may or may not submit a resume. You'll go through an interview panel. This will be extremely great experience for the internship process when later on you're applying and going through these same steps for a law enforcement job opening. Going through these steps will be a large benefit when you're being selected later on and competing against a large competitive pool of applicants. The fact that you've been selected for an internship and now you're applying for a full-time position with a law enforcement agency tells that agency there's something special about you. You were good enough to be selected by this other agency, and it makes that agency feel more comfortable with selecting you for this entry-level law enforcement job. When someone is applying for a full-time entry-level law enforcement position, there's always a risk that this person is not going to pass the background investigation. If this applicant who's applying with your agency has been selected for a prior internship, you're fairly certain that they've already passed a background investigation. And this will make the hiring agency more comfortable that that applicant will also pass a background investigation with their agency. Another benefit of the internship is the connections that you'll make. You'll not only make connections within the agency that you're doing your internship with, but with other agencies that you may interact. And those connections will be extremely beneficial for you, oftentimes for the rest of your career. A law enforcement internship will allow you to begin making a name for yourself. And that could be good or bad, depending on what type of a name you establish for yourself. But if you go and you want to apply for that agency for a full-time position and you did a great job as an internship, that will be extremely beneficial against all the other candidates that you're applying with. If you apply with another agency in that area for a full-time position and you did a great job as an intern with another agency, they'll find out, and that again will be extremely beneficial. We've talked about why you should do an internship. Well, now we're going to talk about reasons why you should not do an internship. Some people only want to do an internship because they believe that that internship will turn into a full-time job opportunity. Well, most internships with agencies are very clear that this is not an entryway to a full-time position. Back in the 70s and 80s, a lot of agencies used internships as a way to kind of test out applicants before they offered them full-time positions. Well, that practice pretty much got eliminated, and a lot of applicants for internships, when they were done with their internships, they expected full-time employment, and when agencies were not able to offer them the full-time employment, there was a lot of dissatisfaction by the interns. So as a result, a lot of agencies kind of backed off doing internships because they felt that some applicants were misleading about turning into full-time jobs. Well, internships are getting popular again with agencies for a variety of reasons. It's a great way to get high-quality workers at very much reduced costs, and it's also a good way for the agency to provide future law enforcement officers with some real-life experience. However, agencies are very clear that internships are not a gateway to full-time employment, that they'll have to compete just like any other applicant for a full-time position. Another reason why you should not do an internship is if you expect to learn specific law enforcement skills. While you'll be exposed to a variety of different skills, the purpose of a law enforcement internship is not to teach you skills. You're not going to learn how to interview, you're not going to learn crime scene investigation, you're not going to learn pursuit driving. You may be exposed to these, but there's not enough time, and that's not the purpose of the internship, to teach skills for future law enforcement officers. Some people want to do an internship for the sheer excitement. Usually those applicants will be weeded out during the application process. Some people who want to do an internship, they want to do it because they don't have a clue about law enforcement. While there's nothing wrong with saying that you want to learn more about law enforcement to decide if this is what you want to do for your career, if you have absolutely no idea about what law enforcement agencies do, then there could be misunderstanding and disappointment with once you get into that internship. So it's a good idea to have some idea of what the agencies do, and specifically what the agency that you're applying with for an internship, what roles they have in their community. Those are some of the reasons why you should, and some of the reasons why you should not do an internship with the law enforcement agency.